Thank you very much, Carmen, for this invitation. Good evening to everyone. I think, estimados colegas, buenas tardes. Es un placer poder intervenir en ese contexto, en esta maravillosa biblioteca, para hablar sobre el avance de nuestro proyecto de exhibición. Okay. Okay. Es un placer poder intervenir en este contexto, en esta maravillosa biblioteca, para hablar sobre el avance de nuestro proyecto de exhibición virtual. Como mi español no es perfecto y no todos los participantes en nuestro grupo de investigación científica de ART-ES hablan español, me gustaría continuar en inglés y con mucho gusto, si hay preguntas, podremos discutir en varios idiomas. Por otro lado, creo que es nuestro destino, el destino de todos los europeos, intercambiar y combinar culturas, ideas e idiomas. Today we would like to give a first insight into the virtual exhibition project we are currently working on. The title, From Real Life into the World of Art, comes from Jacob Burckhardt's The Civilization of the Renaissance in Italy of 1860. By this, Burckhardt wanted to emphasize the hybridization processes between arts during theatrical and festive occasions in the early modern period. They marked, as he said, the point of transition from real life into the world of art. And I think this transition is exactly what our ART-ES research group is interested in, because we want to study the transformation from one dimension to another, especially observing the dividing line between them. In fact, the dividing line between reality and fiction, immanence and representation is never something static, something keeping the same shape. It changes according to the context and especially according to the point of view of the observers. Preparing today's presentation, some ideas contained in Leibniz's monadology of 1714 came back to my mind. Discussing the unicity of a world's necessary and common substance, the philosopher Leibniz assumed that the shape of reality must be given by the relations expressed between all created things or entities he called monads. In this sense, reality is nothing else but a net made of uncountable connections. And we could say that there is as many universes as points of view. Leibniz wrote, as the same town, like here, looked at from various sides appears quite different, and it is as multiplied according to her different perspectives, even so, it is as if there were so many different universes according to the special point of view of each singularity or monad. So, referring to Leibniz, we could say that the conception we have of reality is nothing but a perspective. That means a kind of shortcut starting from a specific position. In this case, this is my position. You are sitting in your place, you have your own position. The shape of reality changes completely according to the present point of view. And static Gilles Deleuze and his book Les Plis, The Fold of 1988, even just the process of observing from a specific point is folding and unfolding reality again and again. I'd like to relate these ideas to our studies of theater and festivities of the early modern period, because what we are trying to do is, in fact, nothing but to deal with the somehow non-solvable problem of different perspectives on many different levels: the level of historiography, of politics, of technology, of iconography, iconology, of theater studies, and so on. Like in these wonderful schemes prepared by Ferdinando Galli Bibbiena in the year 1711, through which he explains the concept and the way to construct the so-called prospettiva per angolo, so the perspective on an angle, on a corner. In our research project, we are trying to approach contents from different directions because we have to consider as many aspects as possible. For example, through performative events, we could say that the monarchs often tried to impose a specific perspective on their guests. Even though the same guests must have had their own views on performative event and its allegorical meaning. Each and every person in the public, as well as each and every performer, had a known point of view, so the point of view of the performer to the audience. At the same time, we are investigating the inconsistencies between different types of historical sources. Even though drawings and prints, like this one, depicting wonderful machine and other details of theatrical events, which until today give an overview on special festivities in a really interesting and wonderful way, such depictions, they do not always convey exactly the same perspective given by written sources of that time. So the difference between the drawing, the illustration, with the written description, so we have to compare. Nor it happens that they correspond one-to-one to the interpretation given by us scholars. So even we are trying to give an interpretation of something, they are not one-to-one the same thing. There cannot be just one way to see, read, and understand ephemeral events, ideas, or sketches of the past, because it is exactly the character of performativity to elude all safe coordinates. The peculiarity of performativity is to happen in between, in a place which is nothing else but the crossfade of actions, in a place which does not belong to anybody. It belongs, in a sense, only to itself, and it is shared by everybody. In order to understand, at least in part, what artworks of the early modern period stand for and what the public most probably saw in reality, we need to be imaginative as much as the artists of the past who create these visions like this one. Like in the case of this wild women riding bears wearing masks of aged men, in a very interesting series of drawings with the title Parade in Honor of St. Jacob, which is part of the collections of the Theatre Museum. Most probably, not all was as it appears here. These female musicians, for example, playing and singing naked in a kind of funny swimming pool. Were they really naked? Were they swimming in a real pool filled with water? Were they really women or rather men? Whatever we see should be observed with amusement, but also with much attention to consider all details. If we carefully look at this couple of figures playing, they are allegories of day and night. You can see it very well, I think, Knox and Diaz. We can recognize that they are not really naked. They wear an overall, so a costume, simulating an ideal nudity and dissimulating their real body. So we are dealing with a costume which shows its absence. You see here, this is a costume. Just to bring a further example, Lodovico Ottavio Burnaccini, the famous Viennese theater engineer of the late 17th century, with his series of drawings dedicated to the temptations of Saint Anthony, did not simply want to repeat the astonishing iconography inspired by many artists before him, for example, Hieronymus Bosch, Peter Bruegel, the Elder, Albrecht Dürer, Lucas Cranach, and later on, of course, Jacques Callot. He wanted to produce a Temptation of St. Anthony on a stage, like the most terrific enchantment one can imagine. To do this, he planned to apply all theatrical available means, like on purpose decorated backdrops and wings on the stage, specially designed machines for movements and flights, and of course actors presenting the most different corporal proportions, like adults, children, and even dwarfs. Adults, children, and dwarfs wearing terrific costumes in all types of forms. The emperor himself, Emperor Leopold I, assisting to a similar spectacle in December 1674, wrote in a letter to his ambassador in Madrid, "The Jesuits staged a very beautiful comedy the other day, introduced by an incanto, an enchantment, in which came a multitude of horrible devils flying and using machines, which were really similar to the Temptation of St. Anthony, but which was very particular. One of the devils made jumps in the air, so very gallant. Another came standing on a barrel, and when another wanted to enter, the first one turned it over so that the child could come in and out of the hole. I mean, I have never seen anything so evil." So this is what the emperor said. By this introduction, I just want to underline how important it is to develop enthusiasm for our topics and literally to dive in the artworks we are studying. Only with this attitude, we will be able to change point of view, not even once, but several times, and possibly unveil some secret detail we otherwise would have not discovered. If we are very close, we need to gain distance. If we are far away, we need to zoom in order to recognize the details. Metaphorically speaking, our work is a kind of play between closeness and distance. Somehow we have to swing between different points of view. Das ist ein Video, vielleicht funktioniert das? Ja. So we have to swing between different points of view. We have to do so in order to get the widest and in the same time the most precise possible perspective, to switch in fact from real life into the world of art and vice versa. All these ideas conducted us, our I+D group, finally to look for new ways to present to a wider public the scientific results of each and every member at the research group. The virtual exhibition from real life into the world of art we are presenting right now in a reduced preview format, and that will be launched online officially in 2020, is an attempt to convey high-quality contents using new technologies. It's a way to awake the interest of the public. On one side, considering the influence digital resources are increasingly having in our lives, and on the other side, paying attention to important guidelines defined in the context of digital humanities. I would like to cite here the London Chart of 2006 and then the Principle of Seville of 2011, which are suggesting a codex of well-behavior dealing with recreations, reconstructions, and animations of historically relevant themes, which is really a difficult task. Nevertheless, to avoid boredom, we do not want to have fear of experimental approaches. The virtual exhibition is following the ideal of democratization because democratization of wisdom, because it will be available through the internet from everywhere, and it will disclose to the public, hopefully, a large set of information, but for free. The web page itself is conceived as a multiple digitorial. So, and just to make it clear, I think it's important also to explain this new word, which is a word on which there is even a copyright for this, because it has been invented by the Schirnkunsthalle and the Städel Museum in Frankfurt first, and they still have a copyright on this word. But I think we are allowed, at least in this context, in our context, to use this word. A digitorial is a tool that enables people to experience arts and history online. The education department of the Schirnkunsthalle and the Städel Museum Frankfurt invented this new format and launched it in 2012, as I said. Nowadays, it inspires other institutions and researchers all over the world, and its aim is to complement or enhance museum visits and printed academic publications by introducing viewers to big themes and ideas through storytelling and the use of lots of visual features. So the visual aspects is very important. A web page inspired by the digitorial concept extends the offerings of traditional cultural spaces to the digital space, making artistic and intellectual content highly accessible. So, and following this example, we decided to create a web platform offering several digitorial-like sub-pages or videos. For each member of our research program, we plan to create a known sub-page. The Museum Union of the Kunsthistorisches Museum Vienna has been entrusted to realize this digital project. And for this preview, 5 sub-pages have already been completed. And I would like to switch now to the real digitorial. This is just a flat image. You can't do anything if you go with a mouse. Nothing happens. But we can switch on the real digitorial. And at this point, I would like to thank everybody who participated at this project, but most of all, Nicoleta Hernandez. I would like to invite her also to come to our stage to show you some example, because it's true that I gave a contribution, I was helping, I was trying to coordinate the project between the ART-ES research group and the visual media department of the KHM, trying to help in the communication and to find a proper format. But it is thanks to, please just come. Okay. Yeah, and Nicoleta is our dear colleague who received the this responsibility to create this page, to construct this page, which is a kind, as I said, a platform containing different pages. So we have already 5. The first 5 are in color. We can slowly say which pages they are. Scenography and Venetian painting by Carmen González-Román. She was doing a wonderful work studying the relations, the very early relation between the scenographic studies of perspective with painting, with the classical painting, where painters like Tintoretto and many others started to insert So the studies of perspective in their own compositions. The second one is a short stroll on the Paseo del Prado in Madrid in the 17th century, prepared by Concepción López Aparicio. She is giving us an insight of a specific place of this city, so the Paseo del Prado, where already in the 17th century so many things are happening, so many people are meeting, so many parties and celebration are taking place in this area, and where you can easily recognize the performative, the theatrical character of this special area of the city. And afterwards, I think Nicoletta will show us which type of solutions she could find to show this area of the Paseo del Prado, because a specific aspect of Concepción's work is that she had a huge painting, very interesting painting with a lot of details, and she's trying to tell the story of this Paseo del Prado in this period using the painting. So you can really go and zoom in, make an enlargement of different details, and you can come back and forth reading all the stories. The third one is something you know already, the contest between air and water of 1666 in Vienna, which is actually, it is not a digitorial where you can scroll with a mouse, but you just play, you just push and press on the play button and the movie is starting, but the way you explain the historical event is similar. The fourth one is a wonderful reconstruction of the entire content of the opera El Pomodoro, done by Daniela Franke, my dear colleague from the Theatre Museum. I want to thank you also for the assistance here helping me with this presentation, where the work is presenting a series of wonderful images through which it is possible to make a summary of the very difficult plot of this huge opera, which was lasting probably between 10, 12 hours, maybe a little more, we don't know exactly, where the plot is absolutely intricate and where you really need some guidance to understand all details, yeah? But Daniela was summarizing the plot in such a good way that she could compress the entire story in little more than, or little less than, yeah, in 30 minutes. And the fifth project is the concept of good architecture in the ephemeral construction of Juan de Villanueva in 1789 of the colleagues Victoria Sotocaba and Isabel Solis Alcudia, where they wanted to emphasize the iconic transformation of the city for a coronation event in a very late period. It is 1789, the same year of the French Revolution, and what is happening in Madrid. So the hegemony of the royal house is being confirmed, and along the days of the coronation of this period, the entire city of Madrid, especially the most important palaces of the city, are being decorated in a supreme way, so that the most important families and members of the nobility of the time participate transforming the city, giving asking different architects and scenographers to decorate their house. And they are focusing, after explaining the historical context, they are focusing of a very specific house, also explaining how they were able to reconstruct the appearance of this ephemeral decoration for this occasion. Afterwards, all the other elements you see, I'm sure you will recognize your own proposal, is still to be constructed, is something we will have to work on in the next months in order to present the project then next year. But before I explain a little more on the way we worked together to create the page, I will pass the microphone to my colleague Nicoleta Hernandez. You will present to our colleagues your wonderful work.
Thank you. So, hello. I created this framework. It's consisting of the 5 tutorials, as we heard. I will start off with the first one. Every tutorial has a different look. It orients at the main title picture that we have. There's always one. To give it, I don't know, a separate kind of environment. Yeah, I put this together as a one-pager, as we call it. There we have all the contents that the scientists and researchers were providing. What I was aiming for to create interaction, therefore we made different elements, like for example in this painting we want to tell the user that the backdrop of this image is like very similar to ones presented in books on architecture. So this little button here on the right side says try me out and hover. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we get to see this effect. There is another one. We want to focus on the background.
May I say something?
Yeah, of course.
As you see, the page is conceived. The first work done, prepared by Carmen, is conceived as a more or less classical digitorial. It means it has a beginning at an end. Yeah, you can scroll as user. You are scrolling through the page, choosing your own speed so that you can read the informations which are interesting for you. And from time to time, you have little animations, or you have a chance to enlarge an image, and from time to time you have somewhere a plus, so that if there is something which is more interesting for you, you can somehow focus on a specific theme where you have other texts and other images. So this is helping you to choose what are the most important informations for you as a direct user of these features. As far as possible, we were always putting some links to the hosting institutions from where the images are coming from, because in this case, the work done by Carmen is not based on one painting or 2 or 4 works of exhibits of arts coming just from one collection. They are coming a little bit from all over the world, all over Europe. So there is the Kunsthistorisches Museum, there is the Prado, there is the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, and so on. So we are putting the link to this work in their museum so that people can visit and go there and get even more or other information. So with this digitorial, as you can see, we are trying to give as much information as possible, but we try, of course, to focus on a specific element. And the most important theme here was the connection between the early studies about perspectives, in this case, mostly of Sebastiano Serlio, and the connection with the painting, the painting and the art of the same period, where artists started to insert almost the same perspective in their paintings.
Should we go on to the next one?
If you want to, yes.
One thing surrounding the different tutorials, I thought of about a way to let the user know where we are, because if you come from Google or so, and you only see a site, yeah, you don't know that it's an exhibition. Therefore, we made this little menu here, and we know where we are. This is arte-ES. We can go and find out more about the project and the team and go home to the main menu, and there we can navigate through the active tutorials.
Maybe you could show the main page now. We can go, just because we didn't do this shortly.
So here we are again.
So this is the starting page, and Nicoletta was not doing just, this is the first page containing all the sub-pages you can enter in. But down, if you scroll down, you will get some information. This is the title of our virtual exhibition. There is an explanation about this page. What is this page? This page is this dedicated web page is conceived as a multiple digitorial. What is a digitorial? You can press and see what is the digitorial, because who's using this word? This is new, nobody knows that. So if you click again, you go out. Then there is this very important quote from Jakob Burckhardt. Carmen was choosing this quote because we are studying this point of transition between different dimensions, and downwards I think there is some very short information about our art-ES project. Why are we here? Why are we gathering? Even though I'm studying a little bit about the equestrial ballet of 1666, what does it have to do with the coronation of Carlos III of 1789? Apparently nothing. But our works are together because we want to try to find new ways to convey intellectual or historical content to the people. So this is why we are putting all these themes together, and because we are studying these hybridizations processes. This is the point. Then we have all participants. No need to know that Carmen is our guidance, our guide and coordinator. And then all the participants, which include the very first members, as stated today, and then also my dear colleagues from the KHM Museum Union in Vienna, who are participating and will present in Malaga their own theme again on Friday. And then what do we have then? So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the second tutorial is a little different. The texts I got and how do you say the Zusammenfassung?
The summary.
The summary I got, like said, it's not linear as we know a typical tutorial, and it focuses on one picture. That should be explained through the tutorial. So we thought about a way to manage this, because obviously we can only scroll up and down in this web environment. And so we made this map. I will scroll to the next one because I guess
this is more important.
Yeah. That's the picture that we are talking about. We have marked all the spots that should be described with a little cross. You can hover over it and read the title. You can also zoom into the picture.
As much as you want, because the point was here, sorry to interrupt you, to have a very high quality image of this painting. If the image, in this case, in this specific case, if the image is not good enough, you can't do anything, because you can't zoom into the details. So our point was not just to give a general insight on this Paseo del Prado, no. Concepcion wanted to focus on specific themes contained in the painting. So she had to struggle a lot to get this image, but she was successful, and so Nicoletta was able to construct this system. And maybe you can show how it works, going little to, also noch in der Vergrößerung, you could show how it really works.
How it works
Du kannst das vielleicht noch vergrößern und dann auf ein Detail klicken, so dass das springt.
Okay. Here we are again. Let's try this one.
So if you press on this music turret,
the picture zooms in and we travel to the information about the music turret. If I want to go back, I still always have this map on the side to get up again. Yeah. Oops. So this is still a linear website. We're just kind of faking to go to just open a new window. So you can also scroll through it. And if we click another hotspot, you can see what is happening actually. So
you can always choose a specific theme, then you go back, then you choose another one. And this is a very powerful tool to tell a story. It's not linear because you can choose any point. There is no order. There is no number 1, no number 2, not number 3, but you choose whatever you like and you jump from one place to the other.
Yeah, and the reason why we made it this way, normally you would do a pop-up or something, but the contents are too big to do that, so that won't work on mobile devices and stuff like that. So I choose this way. Maybe we'll try, like my aim with it was not to see the scrolling, but just blend in the new content. Maybe we'll realize that. We've got another way of this map with smaller contents. That was the wrong one. Here it is. We are able to display the information directly in the map. So
this is a kind of mapping in the mapping. So you can even go deeper in some aspects. So
that's it about this tutorial. Shall we go through all? Or?
Maybe very shortly. I think so this one we know very well because it has been presented. Maybe it is the same system. We can show the Pomodoro.
So here we're starting with the video. It's looping a little preview, and if we click on the button, it loads a YouTube video, or if we want, we can also put it on Vimeo. Because video hosting on the web is not too easy, that's why we rely on like big websites, like hosting sites like YouTube or Vimeo. So basically here you enter, and there is a general image.
Il Pomodoro, or in English, the...
Sorry, I didn't know it has sound.
There is a general, a general image for the beginning, and then you can play, and the movie starts, and the movie is explaining everything. You can't choose. In this case, it is a classical video, but it is displayed in this context, and underneath, maybe this is also interesting to show, there is the title and there is a very short explanation. Why is this important, even though it is a video? Because this explanation will make the video made by Daniela, so you will find it through Google. So if we will publish, correct me if I'm saying something wrong, but as soon we will publish our entire Digitorial project, so this virtual exhibition, if I'm looking about the Pellegrina in Florence, or I'm looking about Il Pomodoro, or I'm looking about the Equestrian Ballet, or Carlo III, whatever, so all the texts we have somewhere will be tagged, so that Google is someone giving you the information. You can find the page also by searching on Google, and not only through our different institutions as link, but I think this is the very interesting part. And this is why the text is here, to give a very short summary, but also to permit us to tag our information.
Yeah.
I think that's it, because then Daniela will explain much more in Malaga about this. We don't need to go into details.
Okay, and the last one is this one. As you can see, again, it looks a little different. Here we have the hover effects again. What I implemented here, because we needed it, is like on the starting page, the overlay for the information about the Digitorial. Is here text links that give you more information about the different words. So, what else is there? There is another form of, I don't know, it's not really animation, but we are changing 2 pictures to explain content. Right here, we are blending in and out 2 maps while we're scrolling. And while you're reading the text, the intention would be that when you're here, you have the right picture to the text you're reading.
Yes. It's very clear, I think.
Same here. Yeah, and then one thing.
This is something for the future then, which we will have even more, maybe, no? Yeah, but please tell. Sorry.
Yeah, I started to create tiny animations, which I would be interested in doing more, and which I guess is good for explaining. Here we have an animated GIF showing that there's light on this. I don't know what it's called.
This is one part, correct us if we are wrong. This is one part, the top part of the ephemeral construction. This is nothing permanent. It was an ephemeral structure. It was this special decoration of the Palacio del Duque de Villanueva. And Victoria and Isabel explain very properly and very precisely that these buildings and these ephemeral constructions were illuminated also in the night. So this was a very important element because they created a very nice scenographic effect all over Madrid in that period, during these festivities. And they had different fires, I don't know, Fackeln, wie man auf, also fire on the construction, and they were even using some bottles with colored water and with fire in order to illuminate these surfaces. And this is just a small effect. As example, I think Nicoletta would like to improve and put even more, but of course it takes time. Now for the preview, this type of effect is available. In future, something more will be there.
Yeah, that's it, I guess.
Another important thing, I think at the moment we were showing you the English version, but the framework, so the main page will be, of course, in at least 2 languages, English and of course Spanish. And then the different sub-pages will have at least Spanish, and then another language. It can be English, it can be German, it can be Italian, German, English, and Spanish, whatever we will be able to do. So the user will have the chance to choose and to change language just pressing on the top a different language. This is valid for the main page, but also for all other pages. As you see, the stories are not always very, very long, but the entire construction is pretty complicated. So it's really something new we are trying to do as output of our research, international research project. To get to this result I think is something interesting and pretty new. So we hope to go on, and I think in Malaga we will have the chance to explain even a little more how we worked all together to create the first 5 digitorials, and then we will see in the future how things evolve, and next year we will have hopefully a very nice and big opening party. I hope so. Opening celebration for this virtual exhibition, which will stay online probably for 4 or 5 years. Then, so we can't, I think the KHM Museum Union can't guarantee it will be longer, because to keep a page like this one, you need to, how do you say, to maintain the page also from the informatic point of view. Whatever we see looks sometimes very easy, but I swear, I promise you, Nicoletta was sitting many hours and it's a matter of programming, and it is something really complicated. So we are trying to create in a new way a nice visual feature, a visual exhibition with a lot of scientific content. So this is something, the effort we are all trying to achieve and to do all together. So it's a good combination. Now it's time to close.